June 3rd, 2007, a Sunday, which is why I'm wearing this collared shirt. I'm going to do a video now about church. In case I haven't told you before, I am a Christian, a Methodist to be precise, though honestly I don't really know the difference between the Methodists and the Baptists and the Presbyterians and there's hundreds of, the Protestant churches. So I wouldn't be able to tell you how I feel about the rest of them. I do know I'm not a Catholic, nothing against Catholics, but all the formalities, I can get into that later. At the moment, I went to church today, and my dad woke me up. I would have slept till noon, but fine, thanks. Now I went to church, and saw the pastor there, and he happened to mention that he'd seen a couple YouTube videos, so I said, well, I guess I'll do one about church now. So how do I feel about church, and churches in general, and Christianity? Well, I like to consider myself a devout Christian, but in a spiritual sense, let us say, as opposed to the religious sense. And for those of you confused on terms, because these terms are always fluctuating, it's in recent times, the spiritual is more your own personal thing, and religious is more going to a physical building and doing the certain ceremonies and such. So I'm very, or to my own estimation, concerned with the spiritual side of things. I like to pray and such, except when I pray, I don't I just go like, hey God, so that's the way I like to do it. The best thing I like about church, my church anyway, is the people, alright, because there's this just great community there, all these people, many of whom I don't actually know their names, but many people I do, and great things can happen that way, just, meeting friends or whatever. My least favorite thing about church, and my pastor will be loath to hear this, is the actual service. Because, although it's nice, it's like, we've sung this song 1,000 times. It's a ceremony. It's repetitive. It's I like that singing. I do like his sermons, at least sometimes. I'm the only person in the church, as far as I know, to ever criticize it. He did a whole thing. He did a sermon on this once. He's like, after the service, nobody ever comes up to me and says, "Wow, you really preached a bad one." Except that guy. And it was me 3 times on a particularly bad sermon. I have gone up to say, that could have been a lot shorter. That could have been but generally, Pastor, you're good. You got energy. That's good. In fact, the first time we saw you, we were blown back because the previous pastor was not nearly as loud as you. so you're not boring. At least not as much as traditional pastors, preachers are. There's another thing. Pastor, reverend, priest, preacher. Honestly, I don't know how all these terms interact, but I'll get onto that. So, the whole ceremony thing can be a little, this is what we do all the time, every week, this certain time, because, I generally just hate schedules and deadlines and obligations. On the other end of the spectrum, though, I once attended a baptism at this other church, this non-denominational one. And there's 2 types of non-denominational churches. The first kind is where it's just kind of a generic church, and they're like, I don't know which one we are, so let's be non-denominational. The second kind is when it's a completely weird type of church, and they're the only one of their own type, so they haven't invented a name for themselves yet, and they call themselves non-denominational. That was the second type that I went to. And this one, it was really loud. There was all sorts of singing and improvising stuff and playing piano and people shouting and everything, jumping up and down and various other things. And you know what? I didn't really like that so much either. I'm glad for everyone else who likes it, for any church service. If you like it, that's your thing, whatever. But I was thinking about that afterwards. I'm like, I certainly don't like the Catholic thing of all sorts of formalities. I had some issues with my own church, and anyway. But then completely the other side, and then just jumping around, I didn't really like that either. I'm trying to figure out why. One of the things I think is there's the chance, anyway, of masking all the bad things. Because, the shouting was all just praise and glory, and I'm all for praise. But sometimes you don't feel like praising, right? Sometimes, you feel like crap, and you need some help. And I didn't particularly feel that this other church's environment was particularly suited to that. Granted, I went to that one thing, but what I really like is when you get a small group of people together and you can just talk. Because we had my youth group at my church, and that was the best part about church while I was in youth group, because of course I'm in college now. Because there we could get together and we'd eat some pizza, and we'd play some games, and then we'd just talk. And it was in youth group, 6th grade when I started, that I really started to get a sense of the actual importance of God. Because previous to that, I don't know, God was just kind of abstract. It was okay, you don't lie and don't steal, and you, and that was about it. I used to think, way back when in Sunday school, I used to think that the Bible was literally just a giant collection of sayings. I didn't realize there was a story in there. I thought it was all the book of Proverbs or something, because there's these posters up, and the Lord saith thus, yada yada yada. And, that was it. I thought that was all there was. And then 5th grade I realized, oh wait, there's actual stories in here. But talking stuff out, in youth group, and you get this sense of people really being serious about God. You get this feeling sometimes in talking stuff out. Wow, this is really sincere, because you can be a flipping committed to ceremony pretty easily. There are nasty people, not particularly my church that I know of, but they're in general. There are nasty people who nevertheless show up at a church or whatever. You can show up at your mosque or synagogue or whatever, or temple, whatever it is. That show up every week, and do the ceremony, and really, they don't really follow the religion all that much. I mean, to an extent, none of us do, right? Because none of us are perfect. But talking to people, being honest, just saying whatever you feel, even when you feel like crap, even if you're completely doubting God, and to have people just say, okay, and just listen to you, just listen, and then help you out as real friends. That's what I really love. That feels real to me. And I guess that's all I have to say for right now. But to my pastor, thank you for watching. I presume you've watched by now. If you haven't, then, well, just watch it, and then this statement will make some sense. And thanks to everybody in my church for making such a good community over the years. And to the rest of the internet, I'll be seeing you later. Thanks for watching.